Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim stood once again in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. But everything had changed since his last visit. The alien delegates no longer looked at him with contempt. Now they watched him with fear, suspicion, and something that might have been desperate hope. The chamber itself showed signs of panic. Emergency lights flashed red. Alien voices spoke urgently in dozens of languages. On the great display screens, the approaching darkness was visible for all to see. Star systems vanishing one by one as the silence consumed everything in its path. "You claim to know what this thing is," Admiral Vexithera said. Her forearms trembled slightly as she spoke. "You say your people can stop it." Hyunwoo nodded calmly. "We know what it is because we have studied the civilization that faced it before. The builders left records, warnings, and possibly a solution." The crystal-winged insect delegate clicked nervously. "Why should we trust you? Your people destroyed our greatest fleet. You manipulated reality itself to crush our ships." "Because," Hyunwoo said simply, "the silence does not care about our politics. It will consume human worlds just as easily as alien ones. We face extinction together, or we face it separately, but we will face it." The floating brain of the hegemony pulsed with angry red light. "You caused this. Your reality-bending weapons attracted this thing." "Yes," Hyunwoo admitted. "We awakened something that was already stirring. But the builders' records show that the silence would have found the galaxy eventually. Our actions simply moved up the timeline." Admiral Zek Lorien, who had survived the battle at Proxima, stood up slowly. His purple skin was pale with exhaustion and fear. "What do you propose?" Hyunwoo activated his personal display unit. The chamber filled with holographic images from the ancient ruins. The builders tried to fight the silence with pure dark matter weapons. Reality-tearing devices that could erase anything from existence, but such weapons only made the silence stronger. The images showed the builders' final battle, weapons that could destroy dimensions, ships that existed in pure mathematics. Technology so advanced it seemed like magic even to humanity's enhanced understanding. They failed because they fought the silence on its own terms. Hyunwoo continued. Dark matter manipulation attracts its attention and feeds its hunger. But the builders missed something crucial. He changed the display to show sensor readings from Earth's deep space stations. The silence exists partially in dark matter space, but it interacts with normal matter when it feeds. It has to enter our dimension to consume stars and planets. So, Vexithara demanded, so it can be hurt by conventional weapons when it manifests in normal space, but only if those weapons can target something that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The chamber fell silent as the aliens processed this information. Finally, the hegemony's science advisor spoke. "You are suggesting a combination. Your dark matter sensors to track the target, our conventional weapons to destroy it." "Exactly. Separately, our technologies are insufficient. Together, they might be enough." But the crystal-winged delegate was not convinced. "Even if this works, why should we help you? Your people have proven they can crush us at will. How do we know you will not enslave us after the crisis passes?" Hyunwoo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with sadness. "Because my people understand something you do not yet realize. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. The builders had ultimate power and it destroyed them." He gestured toward the displays showing the spreading darkness. "We could rule the galaxy with our technology. But what good is ruling over ashes and empty space? We want allies, not subjects. Partners, not slaves." "Pretty words," Vexithara snarled. "But your ships can manipulate reality itself. What is to stop you from taking whatever you want?" "The same thing that stopped the builders from surviving their victory," Hyunwoo replied. "Absolute power attracts absolute enemies. The more we use our most dangerous weapons, the more we risk awakening things that should stay sleeping." Before anyone could respond, new alarms began ringing throughout the station. An automated voice announced, "Alert! Anomalous contact approaching the Nexus system. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. The chamber erupted in panic." The silence was coming to the heart of galactic civilization. In space around Earth, the combined fleets of two different types of civilization prepared for the most important battle in galactic history. Human dark matter warships floated beside alien vessels armed with conventional energy weapons. It was an impossible sight that no one could have imagined weeks earlier. Captain Subin-O stood on the bridge of the Void Walker, now serving as the flagship for the combined fleet. Around her, human and alien officers worked side by side. The language barriers were difficult, but mathematics was universal. Physics worked the same way for everyone. Status report, she ordered. Engineer Wu Jin Nam, who had returned from the ancient ruins with crucial data, checked his displays. All dark matter sensors are synchronized with the alien targeting systems. We can track the silence when it manifests, and they can hit it with conventional weapons. Tactical Officer Yujin Kang worked beside a Vorthok weapons specialist. Despite the language differences and the recent battle, they had found common ground in the science of destruction. Energy weapons are charged and ready. The alien crews have impressive firepower. Dr. Min Jihan's voice came through the communication system from her research vessel. All ships, I am transmitting the builder's final tactical data. The silence appears to be strongest when it first manifests, but if we can disrupt its initial feeding, it becomes temporarily vulnerable. Captain Bom Lee, commanding the scout fleet, reported from the galaxy's edge. Contact confirmed. The silence is approaching faster than predicted. It is no longer following dark matter streams. It is moving directly toward the highest concentration of technology signatures. Subin felt cold. It is coming straight for us. The battle took place in the empty space between star systems. The silence manifested as something that hurt to look at directly. It was not darkness so much as the absence of everything. Light, matter, energy, space itself seemed to be consumed by its presence. But now humanity's sensors could track it, and the galaxy's weapons could reach it. The first phase of the battle was chaos. The silence attacked by simply existing near normal matter. Several alien ships aged centuries and seconds when they got too close. Others were folded out of space-time entirely, but the combined fleet was ready. Human ships used their dark matter manipulation to keep their distance while maintaining sensor lock on the enemy. Alien vessels fired everything they had at the coordinates provided by human targeting systems. For the first time in millions of years, the silence was hurt. Energy beams that should have passed harmlessly through dark matter found their target when guided by sensors that could see into multiple dimensions. Plasma cannons designed to crack planets burned away pieces of something that existed partially outside reality. The silence retaliated by trying to expand its feeding zone. But every time it manifested more fully in normal space, the combined fleet hit it harder. Captain Yoonji Park's ship, the Dimensional Gate, made the crucial breakthrough. Using her vessel's ability to fold space, she transported a massive alien antimatter bomb directly into the center of the silence's manifestation. The explosion was visible across half the galaxy. When the light faded, the silence was gone, but the victory came at a terrible cost. Captain Subin Oh's flagship had been caught in the final death throes of the enemy. The Void Walker was aging rapidly, its hull becoming brittle as centuries passed in seconds. Subin had just enough time to transmit a final message to the fleet. Target destroyed. The galaxy is safe. Remember what we learned here. Power shared is power that endures. The Void Walker crumbled to dust, taking its crew with it. But their sacrifice had saved billions of lives across dozens of star systems. In the aftermath of the battle, the Galactic Council met once more. But this time humanity had a seat at the table. Not as conquerors, but as equal partners in a new alliance. The Dark Matter Accords were signed by all 14 species. Humanity would share their advanced technology, but only for peaceful purposes. The galaxy's conventional sciences would be combined with human dark matter manipulation to create new defenses against threats from beyond normal space. President So Young Park stood in the rebuilt council chamber as the accords were finalized. Around her, alien delegates who had once demanded humanity's surrender now worked as partners in building a better galaxy. Admiral Jinho Choi established the Dark Matter Defense Corps, a joint organization dedicated to monitoring threats from dark matter space. The ancient ruins became a shared research facility where human intuition combined with alien expertise. Dr. Taemin Lee, now elderly but still sharp, oversaw the construction of new sensor arrays that could detect dimensional intrusions before they became dangerous. Never again would the galaxy be caught unprepared for threats from beyond normal physics. The galaxy had entered a new age. The old order, where strength meant domination, had been replaced by something better. Cooperation born from shared danger. Unity forged in the fires of a common enemy. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in their 10,000-year history. Representatives from 13 species sat in their great chamber, but now they looked at each other with fear instead of confidence. The hologram in the center showed the wreckage of their mighty fleet floating in space around Proxima Centauri. Impossible, Admiral Vexithera repeated for the 100th time. Her four-clawed hands gripped her chair so tightly the metal bent. No species can manipulate reality itself. Physics has laws. The hegemony's science advisor, a floating brain in a crystal tank, pulsed with nervous light. The humans have clearly mastered forces beyond our understanding. Dark matter manipulation on a scale we thought impossible. They made our ships age decades in seconds, whispered the crystal-winged insect representative. They folded space to attack us from impossible angles. They exist in dimensions we cannot perceive. The chamber erupted in panic. Some delegates demanded immediate surrender. Others called for the mobilization of every remaining ship in the galaxy. A few simply stared at the battle recordings in shock, unable to accept what they had seen. Above the noise, the Vorthak Admiral's voice cut through like a blade. We cannot surrender to these reality-bending demons. They will destroy everything we have built. But even as she spoke, more reports arrived. Human ships had appeared at the edge of Council space, not to attack, but to send a message that shook the galaxy to its core. Captain Yoonji Park commanded the human Deep Strike fleet. Her ship, the Dimensional Gate, existed partially outside normal space-time. From her bridge, she could see the Nexus Prime system, heart of galactic civilization. 5 worlds orbited a young star, home to billions of alien citizens who had never imagined their perfect order could be challenged. "Are the gravity anchors in position?" she asked her engineering officer. "Yes, Captain. We can manipulate the asteroid belts in this system without affecting the planets." Yoonji nodded. What they were about to do would terrify the galaxy, but it would also save millions of lives. Instead of destroying the Council's homeworlds, they would simply rearrange them. Begin the demonstration. Across the Nexus Prime system, asteroids that had orbited peacefully for millions of years began to move. Not randomly, but with purpose. They formed geometric patterns visible from the surface of every world. Perfect circles, mathematical spirals, symbols that spelled out messages in every known galactic language. The message was simple. We choose peace, but we are no one's subjects. On the Council worlds below, billions of aliens looked up at their skies and saw the impossible. Humans had reached into their most protected system and rearranged reality itself. The asteroids hung in space like a promise and a threat. "We could have done this to your worlds," they seemed to say, "but we chose mercy instead." The psychological effect was devastating. If humans could move asteroids like children playing with toys, what else could they do? Panic spread through the galaxy as species that had ruled for millennia realized they were no longer the masters of their own fate. But on Earth, Dr. Minji Han stared at her instruments with growing horror. The massive display of dark matter manipulation had consequences no one had anticipated. The strange zones at the galaxy's edge were expanding faster than ever. "President Park," she called over the emergency communication system, "the anomaly is accelerating again. Every time we use our technology, we make it stronger." President So-Young Park stood in the Situation Room watching reports flood in from across human space. Their demonstration of power had worked perfectly. Council fleets were retreating. Alien governments were calling for emergency peace talks. Humanity had proven they could not be conquered. But the cost was becoming clear. "How bad is it?" So-Young asked. Dr. Hojin Seo, Minji's assistant, brought up the latest sensor data. "The silence has consumed 47 star systems in the last week. The rate is increasing exponentially. At current expansion, it will reach populated areas of the galaxy in less than 30 days. So-Young felt the weight of impossible choices: save humanity from galactic slavery, but doom everyone to something far worse. "Is there any way to stop it?" "We are still studying the Builder's records," Minji replied. "But Captain Bom Lee's team has found something disturbing in the ancient ruins." The communication switched to show Bom floating in her ship near the mysterious structures. Behind her, alien machinery hummed with power that had not died in millions of years. "President Park," Bom reported, "we have found the Builder's final message. They face the same choice we do now. Use their most powerful weapons to fight the silence or let it consume everything." "What did they choose?" So-Young asked, though she feared the answer. "They chose to fight. The Builders created weapons that could destroy entire dimensions. Reality-tearing devices that could erase anything from existence itself." Engineer Woo Jin Nam appeared beside Bom on the screen. "The weapons worked," he said grimly. They could hurt the silence, but using such power attracted even more attention from dark matter space. The builders won the battle but lost the war. The final phase consumed their entire civilization, Tactical Officer Eugene Kang added. The builders became so focused on fighting the silence that they forgot what they were trying to protect. In the end, they destroyed themselves along with their enemy. So Young closed her eyes. History was repeating itself. Humanity had the power to fight back, but using that power would only make things worse. An alarm sounded throughout the facility. Madam President, the communications officer announced, "We are receiving an urgent message from deep space monitoring stations. Something is happening at the galaxy's edge." The main display switched to show the outer rim of their galaxy. Where stars had once shone, there was now absolute darkness. Not the darkness of empty space, but something deeper, something that seemed to absorb light itself. "The affected zone is no longer expanding gradually," reported the sensor technician. "It is moving in pulses. Each pulse consumes everything in its path and jumps forward by several light years." Dr. Minji studied the readings. "It is following the dark matter streams that connect star systems. The invisible web that holds the galaxy together is being used as a roadmap." "How long do we have?" So Young asked. "Based on current pulse patterns, the silence will reach the outer colonies in 18 days. The core systems have perhaps 6 weeks. So Young looked around the room at humanity's greatest minds. Scientists who had unlocked the secrets of invisible matter. Engineers who built ships from crystallized space-time. Military leaders who commanded weapons that could bend reality. All of them were helpless against something that existed beyond the boundaries of normal physics. "There has to be a way," she said firmly. "The builders failed, but maybe they missed something. Maybe there is a solution they could not see." Captain Subin O's voice came through the communication system from her flagship. "Madam President, I am receiving reports from across the galaxy. The council species are starting to panic. Some are evacuating their home worlds. Others are building massive defensive fleets. Conventional weapons will be useless," Minji pointed out. "The silence exists partially outside normal space-time. You cannot shoot what does not exist in your dimension." "But maybe that is the answer," So Young said suddenly. "We have been thinking about this wrong. We cannot fight the silence with dark matter weapons because that only makes it stronger. But what about combining our technology with conventional physics?" Dr. Taemin Lee, who had been quiet throughout the crisis, suddenly looked up with hope in his old eyes. "Madam President, you may be onto something. Our dark matter sensors can detect the silence, but conventional matter energy weapons guided by those sensors could hit targets that exist partially outside normal space," Minji finished. "We would need cooperation from the galaxy's conventional weapons specialists." So Young made her decision. "Contact Ambassador Yunwoo at the council station. Tell him to request an emergency meeting. Not to discuss surrender, but to discuss survival." "Ma'am?" General Jinho looked confused. "The galaxy thinks we are their enemies now," So Young explained. "But we are about to become their only hope. The silence does not care about politics or territory. It will consume everyone equally. Human, alien, it makes no difference." She looked at the display showing the spreading darkness. "If we are going to survive this, we need to work together. Our reality-bending technology combined with their conventional sciences. Our dark matter sensors guiding their energy weapons. The Council will never trust us after what we did to their fleet," Jinho warned. "They will when they realize the alternative," So Young replied. "Help us or die alone. Even the most arrogant species will choose cooperation over extinction." As Earth's leaders worked frantically to contact the galactic government, the silence pulsed forward again. Another dozen star systems vanished into absolute darkness. The consumption was accelerating. Somewhere in the void between galaxies, something vast and hungry turned its attention fully toward the bright spiral of stars where organic life had dared to touch the invisible universe. The silence was coming home, and this time it would not be denied. The Galactic Council's war fleet was the largest in recorded history. 10,000 ships from 13 different species stretched across space like a metal storm cloud. Admiral Zek Lorian of the Hegemony stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the display with satisfaction. "All fleets report ready," his aide announced. The aide was a smaller version of his species with blue skin instead of purple. "The humans have 26 days left to surrender." Zekalorian nodded. His four eyes studied the tactical display. Human space looked so small compared to the massive fleet surrounding it. Have they sent any response to our ultimatum? No, Admiral. Their colonies show normal activity. No signs of panic or evacuation. Stupid creatures, Zekalorian muttered. They still think their primitive weapons can protect them. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Baum Lee floated in the control room of the dark matter research vessel Void Seeker. Around her, stars looked different through the ship's special sensors. She could see the dark matter streams that connected everything in the universe, the invisible web that held all of creation together. Captain? Engineer Wu Jin Nam called from his station. We are approaching the ruin site. The ancient structures are still active. Baum looked out at the space between galaxies. To normalize, there was nothing there. Just empty darkness. But through dark matter sensors, she could see the impossible city floating in the void. Structures made of crystallized space-time that had survived for millions of years. Take us in carefully, she ordered. We need to understand what we are dealing with before the Council fleet attacks. Tactical Officer Eugene Kang worked at her console. Captain, I am reading energy patterns I have never seen before. The ruins are not just buildings. They are some kind of massive machine. As the Void Seeker moved closer, the ancient structures became clearer. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Shapes that hurt to look at because they existed in too many dimensions. Buildings that were bigger on the inside than the outside. Technology that made the galaxy's most advanced races look like children with sticks. What were they trying to do? Wu Jin whispered. Eugen's instruments gave her the answer. They were building weapons, Captain. Weapons that could manipulate the expansion of space itself. They could make the universe tear apart at any point they chose. On Earth, Dr. Minji Han stared at the data coming from the Void Seeker. Her team had been studying the Builders' records for years, but this was new information. The Builders had not just mastered dark matter. They had tried to weaponize the fundamental forces of reality. Why would they need such powerful weapons? Asked her assistant. Dr. Hojin Seo Minji pulled up another file. This one showed readings from the edge of the galaxy. Strange zones where space itself seemed wrong. Maybe they were fighting something that normal weapons could not hurt. The data was incomplete. The Builders' civilization had ended suddenly. Their cities were abandoned. Their people had vanished. All they left behind were warnings written in mathematics and fear. Look at this, Hojin said. He had found a new section in the alien database. They called it the Silence. It exists in dark matter space. It feeds on dark energy manipulation. Minji felt cold despite the warm laboratory. Every time we use our dark matter technology, we send out signals into that space. Signals that something might hear. But we have been using the technology for 20 years, Hojin pointed out. If something was going to notice... An alarm started ringing throughout the research facility. Emergency lights flashed red. Over the intercom system, a voice announced, "All personnel to emergency stations. Anomalous readings detected at Galaxy's edge." Minji ran to the main sensor array. The display showed the spiral arm of their galaxy. But at the very edge, something was wrong. Stars were disappearing, not exploding or burning out. Just vanishing as if they had never existed. How many stars? She asked the sensor operator. 12 systems so far, the operator replied with a shaking voice. They are just gone. Empty space where there used to be light. Minji grabbed the emergency communicator. Get me President Park immediately. Meanwhile, at the edge of human space, the Council's massive fleet began to move. Admiral Zekalorian had grown tired of waiting. The humans had not responded to their demands. It was time to teach them the price of defying the galaxy's rulers. Begin the advance, he ordered. Target the Proxima Centauri system. We will crush their closest colony and show them what happens to those who resist. The fleet moved forward like a metal tide. Battleships the size of cities. Carriers filled with fighter craft. Destroyers armed with weapons that could crack planets. The combined military might of 13 advanced civilizations, all focused on destroying humanity. But as they approached human space, their sensors found nothing. No defensive fleets. No weapon platforms. No signs of military preparation. Human colonies continued their normal activities as if nothing was happening. Where are their ships? Zekalorian demanded. His sensor officer worked frantically at his controls. Admiral, we are not detecting any human military vessels. Their space appears to be undefended. Impossible. They must be hiding somewhere. Sir, we have scanned every asteroid, every moon, every gas giant in their territory. There are civilian ships, mining operations, transport vessels, but no warships. Zekalorian felt uneasy. The human ambassador had seemed too confident, too calm for someone whose species was about to be destroyed. Continue the advance, but stay alert. Something is not right. On the dark matter research ship, Captain Baum made a discovery that changed everything. Deep in the ancient ruins, her team found a chamber that still functioned. The walls were covered with symbols that told a story of war between dimensions. The builders were not the first to discover dark matter manipulation, she reported to Earth. They found evidence of an even older civilization, one that had been consumed by something called the Silence. Wu Jin studied the alien symbols. According to this, the Silence exists in the spaces between spaces. It feeds on the energy released when dark matter is manipulated. The more advanced the technology, the more it attracts their attention. And the builders? Baum asked. They tried to fight it. They built weapons that could destroy entire dimensions, but using such weapons only made the Silence stronger. In the end, they had to choose between victory and survival. Wu Jin's voice was quiet. What did they choose? Wu Jin pointed to the final symbols on the wall. They chose to hide, to stop using their most powerful technology, to become invisible to the Silence by giving up their greatest achievements. But it was too late, Baum realized. The Silence had already found them. Back on Earth, President So-Young Park stood in the Situation Room watching multiple displays. One showed the Council fleet advancing on human colonies. Another showed the spreading zone of missing stars at the galaxy's edge. A third displayed reports from the ancient ruins. How long before the Council reaches Proxima? She asked. General Jinho checked his display. 18 hours at their current speed. And the anomaly at the galaxy's edge? Dr. Minji answered from her position at the science station. It is expanding. Whatever is causing stars to disappear is moving inward. At current rate, it will reach populated systems in 6 months. So-Young felt the weight of impossible choices. Reveal humanity's true power and risk attracting something far worse, or let the galaxy enslave her people. Admiral, she said to Jinho, are our dark matter fleets ready? Yes, Madam President. Captain Subin O reports the Voidwalker and her task force are in position. They can engage the Council fleet at any time. So-Young looked at the display showing the approaching alien armada. 10,000 ships against humanity's hidden fleet. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not as helpless as they appeared. But at the edge of known space, something stirred in the darkness between stars, something that had been sleeping for millions of years. The builders' warnings echoed through time. Some doors should never be opened. Some powers should never be used. The Silence was coming home. The emergency meeting room deep inside Earth's government building was packed with important people. President So-Young Park sat at the head of the long table. Her face was serious as she watched the screen showing Hyunwoo's message from the Galactic Council station. They gave us 30 days, she said to the room. 30 days to surrender everything our people have built among the stars. General Jinho Choi, head of Earth's defense fleet, shook his head. They think we are children playing with toys. They have no idea what we really are. Maybe it is time to show them, said Dr. Taemin Lee. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. But those eyes still held the fire that had changed everything for humanity 20 years ago. So-Young looked at him. Tell them the story, Taemin. Tell them how we really reached the stars. Taemin stood up slowly. He walked to the front of the room and activated a hologram projector. The lights dimmed and suddenly they were looking at deep space. Stars filled the darkness, but between them was something else. Empty space that was not really empty. 23 years ago, Taemin began, we sent our first probe beyond the edge of our galaxy. It was supposed to study dark matter, the invisible material that holds galaxies together. We knew it was there, but we could never touch it. The hologram changed. Now it showed a small Earth probe moving through the void between galaxies. Far from any star, it drifted in the deepest darkness space had to offer. The probe was almost at the end of its mission when it found something impossible, Taemin continued. Structures in the dark matter itself. Buildings made from forces we barely understood. The image shifted again. Now they could see them. Vast shapes floating in nothingness. They did not reflect light because there was no light to reflect. But somehow they were there. Cities or ships or something else entirely. They were beautiful and terrifying. We sent more probes, Taemin said. Then we sent people. We discovered ruins older than human civilization. Older than most of the stars in our galaxy. The builders were gone, but they left something behind. Captain Bom Lee, one of the first dark matter explorers, spoke up from her seat. The knowledge was all there. Written in mathematics we could understand once we learned to look. They had mastered the invisible universe. The hologram showed human scientists working in the ruins. They wore special suits that let them exist partially in dark matter space. Around them, alien machines still hummed with power after millions of years. Dark matter makes up most of the universe, Taemin explained. It is everywhere, but normal matter cannot touch it. The builders found a way to bridge that gap. They could manipulate the invisible scaffolding that holds reality together. Admiral Jinho stood up. While the galaxy's races focused on atoms and energy, we learned to work with dark matter itself. We could bend space, fold time, move through dimensions that do not exist for normal matter. The hologram changed to show human shipyards, but these were not like any shipyards the galaxy had ever seen. The ships being built there flickered in and out of existence. They looked like geometric shapes made of crystallized space itself. Our first colony ships did not take decades to reach distant stars. Jinho continued. They folded space around themselves and stepped across light years in minutes. While the galaxy thought we were using slow generation ships, we were already exploring beyond their borders. Dr. Minji Han, the head of alien technology research, activated her own display. We studied every piece of data we could get about the galactic races. Their sensors, their weapons, their ships. Then we made sure our real technology would be invisible to them. The display showed comparison charts. On one side were the crude fusion drives and simple weapons the galaxy had observed in human space. On the other side were the reality-bending machines humanity had really built. Every ship the Council has seen is a decoy, Minji explained. Real human vessels exist partially outside normal space-time. Their sensors cannot detect what does not fully exist in their dimension. President So Young leaned forward. How many ships do we really have? Jinho smiled grimly. More than the Council has ever dreamed. Each one can manipulate local space-time. They can create gravity wells, fold distance, or phase through normal matter. Traditional weapons cannot harm what they cannot touch. Engineer Wu Jin Nam raised his hand. But there is a danger. The builders left warnings in their ruins. They called it the Silence, something that lives in dark matter space itself. The builders' civilization was destroyed by it. The room went quiet. This was the part of the story that kept everyone awake at night. Taemin nodded sadly. The more we use dark matter technology, the more we risk attracting their attention. The builders tried to weaponize the expansion of space itself. They could tear apart reality. But doing so woke up something that should have stayed sleeping. What exactly is the Silence? So Young asked. We do not know, Minji admitted. The builders' records are damaged. But whatever it is, it exists outside normal space-time. It feeds on dark energy, and it destroyed a civilization that was millions of years more advanced than the current galactic races. Captain Subin, commander of humanity's newest dark matter warship, stood up. So we have a choice. Use our real power and risk waking up something worse, or let the galaxy enslave us. There is a third option, Taemin said quietly. We show them just enough to make them back down. Demonstrate our power without using the most dangerous weapons. Make them respect us without starting a war that could attract the Silence. Jinho activated another display. This one showed the positions of Council fleets throughout the galaxy. They are already mobilizing. 10,000 ships are moving toward human space. They plan to crush us before we can resist. Then we stop them, So Young said firmly, but carefully. We show them that humanity is not helpless, but we do not show them everything. Dr. Eugene Kang, the head of Deep Space Monitoring, looked worried. Madam President, our sensors are already detecting strange readings from the edge of the galaxy. Empty zones where stars used to be. If the Silence is real, then we will deal with that when it comes. So Young interrupted. Right now we have a more immediate problem. The galaxy thinks we are weak. They plan to enslave or destroy us. That cannot happen. She looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders, scientists who had unlocked the secrets of invisible matter, soldiers who commanded ships that could bend reality, engineers who built machines from crystallized space-time. Send the message to all fleet commanders, So Young ordered. Operation Dark Horizon is approved. Show the galaxy that humanity bows to no one. Jinho saluted. Yes, Madam President. The Council wanted to see human technology. They will get their wish. As the meeting ended, Taemin stayed behind. He stared at the hologram showing the ancient ruins where humanity had found its destiny. I hope we are making the right choice, he whispered. So Young put a hand on his shoulder. We are not the same species that crawled out of caves 50,000 years ago, Taman. We have learned to touch the invisible universe. If we cannot use that knowledge to protect our freedom, then what good is it? Outside Earth's atmosphere, space began to shimmer as the first dark matter warships prepared to reveal themselves. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been hiding in the shadows between dimensions, and in those shadows, something else stirred. Something that had been sleeping in the dark matter between galaxies for millions of years. Something that fed on the manipulation of invisible forces. The silence was beginning to wake up. The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metallic moon. Its surface was covered with towers and domes that stretched for hundreds of miles. This was the Galactic Council Station, home to the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Today they would decide the fate of humanity. Hyunwoo Kim walked alone down the long corridor. His footsteps echoed off the metal walls. He wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Around him, alien creatures moved with purpose. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others floated in glass bubbles filled with strange gas. A few looked almost human, but their eyes glowed with inner light. They all stared at him as he passed. He could feel their thoughts. Here was the human, the primitive one, the creature from the small blue world that had barely learned to leave its own solar system. Hyunwoo kept his face calm. He had trained for this moment for years, but inside his heart was beating fast. The message in his pocket felt heavy. It contained humanity's real response to the Council's demands. But first he had to hear their ultimatum in person. The council chamber was enormous. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadows. Seats rose in circles around a central platform. Each seat held a different alien species. The air smelled of strange chemicals and foreign breath. At the highest seat sat Admiral Vexthera of the Vorthak Empire. She was 10 feet tall with skin like black metal. Her forearms ended in claws that could cut through steel. When she spoke, her voice boomed through the chamber. "Human," she said, "you stand before the Galactic Council. We have watched your species for 50 of your years. You have spread through space like a disease. You have built colonies on worlds without asking permission. You have ignored the laws that have kept peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. Hyunwoo bowed slightly. The people of Earth greet the Galactic Council with respect. We have come to learn and to find our place among the stars. Vexthara laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. Your place? We will tell you your place, human. She gestured with one of her clawed hands. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a map of human space. 37 star systems glowed blue. These were humanity's colonies built over the last 50 years. You will abandon all colonies except your homeworld, Vexthara said. You will destroy all military ships. You will pay tribute to the council every year. You will accept council governors on your world to make sure you follow our laws. Another alien stood up. This one looked like a giant insect with crystal wings. The council has been generous, it clicked. Many species would simply destroy you, but we offer you a chance to serve. More voices joined in. A creature made of living rock rumbled about human arrogance. Something that looked like a floating brain spoke about the need for order. They all agreed. Humanity must submit or be destroyed. Hyunwoo listened to them all. When they finished, the chamber fell silent. Every alien eye was on him. He could feel their certainty. They believed humans were weak and stupid. They thought humanity would beg for mercy. May I speak? Hyunwoo asked. Vexthara waved a dismissive claw. Say what you will, human. It will not change anything. Hyunwoo walked to the center of the chamber. He looked up at the circle of alien faces. The people of Earth have heard your demands. We understand that you see us as children playing with dangerous toys. You think our ships are crude. Our weapons are simple. Our technology is primitive. Several aliens nodded. This human understood reality at least. You offer us a choice, Hyunwoo continued. Submit or be destroyed. Accept your rule or face your fleets. Bow to your power or be crushed by it. Exactly, Vexthara said. Finally, you see reason. Hyunwoo smiled. It was not a happy smile. We have made our choice. The chamber waited. Even the air seemed to hold still. Humanity rejects your ultimatum, Hyunwoo said. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not destroy our ships. We will not accept your governors. And we will not pay tribute to anyone. The silence exploded into noise. Aliens roared and clicked and screeched. Some rose from their seats. Others pounded on their armrests. Vexithara's claws scraped deep marks in the metal of her chair. "Silence," she bellowed. The chamber went quiet again. Her forearms trembled with rage. "You dare refuse the council? You pathetic creature. Your entire species could not defeat one of our destroyers." "Perhaps," Hyunwoo said, "but that is our choice to make." Another alien leader stood up. This one was tall and thin with skin like silver. "Human, you do not understand. We have been watching your expansion. We know every ship you have built, every weapon you carry. Your largest warship has the firepower of our smallest patrol craft. We know about your fusion drives," added the crystal-winged insect. "Your kinetic weapons, your primitive computers. You are centuries behind the least of the council races." Hyunwoo nodded. "You have done your homework." "Very thorough. Then you admit your defeat before it begins?" Vexithara asked. "I admit you know what you have been allowed to see," Hyunwoo said. Something in his voice made several aliens lean forward. There was no fear in it, no desperation, just calm certainty. "What does that mean?" the silver-skinned alien demanded. Hyunwoo reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a simple communication unit. "It means, honored council members, that humanity has been preparing for this day since we first reached the stars." He pressed a button on the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then red lights began flashing all around the chamber. An automated voice spoke in the council's common language. "Alert. Unidentified vessels detected at the edge of the system. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures unknown. Number unknown." Vexithara spun toward her advisors. "What is this? How did ships approach without being detected?" The advisors worked frantically at their control panels. Their faces showed confusion and growing fear. "Admiral," one of them reported, "our sensors show empty space. But something is there. Something big. How big?" Vexithara demanded. We cannot tell. The readings make no sense." Hyunwoo put his device back in his pocket. "You wanted to know about human technology. Now you will learn, but not in the way you expected." He walked toward the chamber's exit. No one tried to stop him. They were all too busy staring at their instruments, trying to understand what their sensors were telling them. At the doorway, Hyunwoo turned back. "The council has 30 days to consider a new proposal. Humanity offers trade, cooperation, and friendship, but we will never kneel to anyone. This is not over, human," Vexithara roared. Hyunwoo smiled again. This time it was almost sad. "No," he said. "It is just beginning." The chamber doors closed behind him with a soft hiss. In the silence that followed, alarms continued to wail, and for the first time in 1,000 years the Galactic Council felt something they had forgotten. Fear. Admiral Zeklorian stood on his bridge watching the human colony world grow larger on the main screen. Proxima Centauri looked peaceful from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, and the lights of cities on the night side. It would have been beautiful if not for what he was about to do. "All ships report ready for bombardment," his weapons officer announced. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "I am still not detecting any human defensive vessels. The system appears completely undefended." Zeklorian frowned. This felt wrong. Where were the desperate human fleets? Where were their pathetic attempts at resistance? The silence from human space made him nervous. "Perhaps they have finally realized the foolishness of defying us," suggested his aide. "No," Zeklorian said slowly. The human ambassador was too confident. "They are planning something." Around the Proxima system, 10,000 alien warships took their attack positions. Battleships the size of mountains aimed their planet-killing weapons. Fighter squadrons prepared to sweep away any resistance. The combined firepower could turn the world below into molten rock within minutes. "Begin the attack," Zeklorian ordered. But before his weapons could fire, something impossible happened. Space itself began to bend. "Admiral," the sensor officer screamed. "Contact!" "Multiple contacts. They are everywhere." The empty space around the council fleet suddenly filled with shapes. But these were not ships as the galaxy understood them. They were geometric impossibilities. Crystalline structures that existed in more dimensions than normal matter could comprehend. Some looked like living mathematics. Others resembled frozen pieces of time itself. The human dark matter fleet had arrived. Captain Subin-O stood in the control center of her flagship, the Void Walker. Around her, reality flickered as the ship existed partially in normal space and partially in dark matter dimensions. Through her viewports, she could see the massive alien fleet, 10,000 ships that had come to destroy humanity. All vessels report ready, her communications officer announced. Dark matter drives at full power. Dimensional anchor stable, Subin nodded. She had trained for this moment for 10 years. But seeing the enemy fleet in person was still intimidating. Each Council battleship carried more conventional firepower than anything humans had built before discovering dark matter technology. Send a message to the alien fleet, she ordered. Tell them to withdraw immediately or face the consequences. On the Council flagship, chaos ruled the bridge. Sensor readings made no sense. The human ships appeared to be solid one moment and ghostly the next. Targeting systems could not lock onto them. It was like trying to shoot at shadows made of mathematics. What are those things? Zachlorian demanded. Unknown, Admiral. They do not match any ship design in our databases. Energy readings are impossible. They appear to be manipulating space-time itself. A communication came through from the largest human vessel. The image showed a young human female in a simple gray uniform. She looked calm despite facing the largest military fleet in galactic history. This is Captain Subin O of the Earth Defense Force, she said. You have entered human space without permission and threatened our colonies. Withdraw immediately. Zachlorian laughed. You dare threaten us? Your entire species could not defeat one of our patrol groups. Subin's expression did not change. Last warning. Leave now or face the consequences. Fire! Zachlorian roared. The Council fleet unleashed everything. Energy beams that could melt asteroids. Missiles that could crack moons. Plasma cannons that burned at stellar temperatures. 10,000 ships fired at once, turning space into a web of destruction. The human ships simply were not there when the weapons arrived. Missed, the weapons officer reported in confusion. All shots missed. The targets phased out of normal space just before impact. Before Zachlorian could respond, the human ships began their counterattack. But they did not use conventional weapons. Instead, they manipulated reality itself. The destroyer squadron on the fleet's left flank suddenly found itself inside a gravity well that had not existed seconds before. The artificial black hole crushed 50 ships in an instant, compacting them into a sphere of twisted metal no larger than a building. On the right flank, space folded. A human ship reached across dimensions and grabbed an asteroid from a system 30 light-years away. The rock appeared directly inside a Council battleship's hull. Both the asteroid and the ship vanished in a flash of released energy. In the center of the formation, Commander Ho Jin Seo's vessel Reality Anchor demonstrated humanity's most terrifying capability. Time itself slowed around a group of enemy cruisers. The human ship fired a simple projectile that moved at normal speed while its targets were locked in temporal molasses. The alien crews watched in horror as the projectile approached over several minutes. They could see it coming but could not move fast enough to avoid it. When it finally struck, the temporal field collapsed. The cruisers aged decades in seconds. Their crews grew old and died at their posts while their ships crumbled to dust. Impossible, Zachlorian screamed. Physics does not work that way, sir, his science officer reported with a shaking voice. They are manipulating dark matter. They have weaponized the invisible universe itself. Another human ship folded space around itself and appeared directly in the middle of the Council formation. It fired projectiles that existed partially in dark matter dimensions. The shots passed through shields as if they were not there, striking hull metal directly. A different vessel created a dimensional rift that connected 2 points in space. Council ships found themselves firing at their own allies as space curved back on itself. The Void Walker itself demonstrated the ultimate human capability. Captain Subin ordered her crew to manipulate local space-time. Reality twisted around the flagship. Suddenly, the Void Walker appeared to be in a dozen places at once. Each copy fired at different targets before vanishing like ghosts. In 15 minutes, the largest military fleet in galactic history was reduced to scattered wreckage. Ships that had ruled space lanes for centuries were twisted into impossible shapes. Others had been aged into scrap metal. Still others had simply been folded out of normal space-time entirely. Of the 10,000 vessels that had attacked human space, fewer than 1,000 survived. Those ships fled in panic, carrying word of humanity's impossible weapons back to their homeworlds. Admiral Zachlorian's flagship was crippled but intact. Subin had deliberately spared the command vessels to send a message. As his ship limped away from the battle zone, he stared at the tactical display in shock. How? he whispered. How did they do this? His science officer was pale with terror. Admiral, they have mastered forces we barely understand. Dark matter manipulation, dimensional folding, time dilation. They can attack us from dimensions we cannot even perceive. On the Voidwalker, Subin watched the alien survivors flee. Her crew celebrated their victory, but she felt no joy. They had revealed humanity's secret. The galaxy now knew that humans possessed technology that could reshape reality. But more importantly, they had used massive amounts of dark matter manipulation in a single battle. The energy signatures would be visible across half the galaxy. If something was watching from dark matter space, it would definitely notice. Captain, her sensor officer called out. I am detecting strange readings from the galactic edge. The anomaly zones are expanding faster. Subin felt cold despite her ship's warm atmosphere. How much faster? The rate of expansion has increased by 300% since the battle began. At this rate, the effect will reach populated systems in 6 weeks instead of 6 months. Captain Bom Lee's voice came through on the communication system from the ancient ruins. All ships, this is urgent. We have found new information in the Builder's records. The silence is not just attracted to dark matter manipulation. It is woken up by large-scale reality distortion. Subin's heart sank. Are you saying the battle? The battle was like a signal flare shot into dark matter space, Bom confirmed. Whatever destroyed the Builders is now fully awake, and it is coming this way. On Earth, President So-Young Park watched the battle reports with mixed feelings. Humanity had proven they were not helpless. The galaxy would never again dismiss humans as primitive, but the cost might be greater than anyone could imagine. Dr. Minji Han burst into the Situation Room with new data. Madam President, the star disappearances at the galaxy's edge have accelerated. We estimate the silence will reach the outer colonies within 40 days. So-Young stared at the displays showing humanity's great victory and their potential doom. They had shattered the galaxy's confidence in their own power. But in doing so, they might have doomed everyone to something far worse than slavery. The galaxy was about to learn that there were worse things in the universe than losing a war. Some victories came with prices too terrible to imagine. In the darkness between stars, something vast stirred to full wakefulness. The silence had been patient. It had waited for someone to make enough noise to provide a clear signal home. Now it was time to feed.